Good evening. I was asked to be the best man right after they got engaged, and I was definitely honored about that, and I knew one of the parts of that would be giving the best man speech. Some of the other areas that I wasn't as well suited for, logistics, not being absent-minded, knowing what to do and when to do it. I knew I wouldn't excel in those areas. Not generally my aptitude. So I was hoping at least the speech is something that I was very excited to do, and I knew, given I have a strong desire to be sincere, that I could hopefully do effectively and express my feelings for my brother and Jen, and obviously their new marriage. So when I went about thinking what I wanted to say in this speech, I knew brevity would be key, which I haven't really done so far, so I need to expedite this. And I knew there'd be certain time parameters. So the first thing I did is I Googled how to give a best man speech. And one of the first hits on the internet was Wikipedia that gave a list of 10 things, and they were kind of the checklist of 10 that were must-dos in any best man speech. So I went through the list, and obviously 10 would take a long time, so I settled on 3 of them, which I think I'll be able to weave a story through and kind of get my point across. So I'm only going to read some of these so I remember what the actual points were. So the first one on the list that I chose was number 4, which is introduce yourself and explain how you know the bride and groom. So my name is Stephen Scheer. I know the groom because our mother, Barbara Scheer, gave birth to both of us, and I grew up with him as my brother. I know the bride, Jennifer Scheer, because my brother just married her. This is a great audience. I was hoping that went well, and then it would kind of flip from there. So the next one I focused on was number 8, which says, tell a story or make some observations about the couple. However, avoid mentioning the groom's ex-girlfriends, any potentially humiliating facts about his past, like if he spent time in prison, or anything derogatory about the bride and or her family. Okay, so this one, I chose to make... So I chose to go the route of making some observations, and the biggest thing I've observed, and I haven't spent a huge amount of time around them both, but obviously I speak with my brother every single day, and I saw a lot of shifts in his personality. The attributes he has seem to be highlighted and accentuated, and the very, very few flaws seem to be reduced or mitigated, not surface.
The suspect.
My brother seems happier. He seems more excited about the future, more grounded. He speaks a lot in terms of ways. Wow, I feel like every time I say something. Oh, no. So I just noticed some big shifts in his personality, and I don't know Jen quite as well. We spent Thanksgiving together and 4th of July and a ski trip, but I'm able to see the shifts in my brother. It's obvious that you are a great pair, and I know you at least bring out what I think is the best in my brother, and the cliche that the whole is greater than the sum of the parts definitely seems to resonate in this situation. And even this morning, I take a walk with my brother, which kind of how the walk went, and he ended up on a gay, not that there's anything wrong with that, nude beach. But that notwithstanding, we did have some really good conversations. Anyway, so Stephen told me some specifics about Jen and kind of the things that really drew him to her. And what stood out was how thoughtful she is. He gave some examples of, early in their relationship, the first birthday they spent together, that she took the time and she was thoughtful enough to, have the ice cream that he likes from the specific place delivered to where they were having dinner. What caramel? Salted caramel. There's another example where he had a trip to Hawaii and she had arranged for a care package of some sort to be there for him. Even today, we were in the room getting ready, and my mom walked in with Philadelphia soft pretzels. I feel like I'm turning that back on this whole side. So that stood out to me in terms of how thoughtful she is. My observations are they seem great together, and I'm sincerely excited to have Jen in the family, and Max and Belinda, not Melinda, in the family. So I'll stop that point. That went on a little longer than I planned. The number 9, sticking with the Wikipedia framework, is expand on the groom's virtues. So this part, my brother's someone I think has always had very strong character. As he's gotten older, I feel like it's become more pronounced. The character, someone who does the right thing. A lot of it's very subtle. If someone does him a solid, he'll always make sure to reciprocate. He'll always ask about the other person. And I think a lot of that he learned, from our mother, our grandfather, Alan, and the biggest thing, and I think the most relevant thing now that he's getting married, is his family values. I remember very specifically, very vividly, being younger, and when our father passed away, I don't remember as well, but when our grandfather passed away, that was something that really shook up our family. And I remember I was 14, my brother was 17. The way he was with my mother, the way he was with our grandmother, and from that point on, made a point, through different phases of his life, to call our grandmother every day, to call our another elderly relative every day, and extrapolating from that, I can see Stephen being an amazing husband, someone who's really steps up when it's needed. The other thing I meant to mention is, when I went through some really tough times a few years ago, he stepped up and he was there for me. And I remember staying with him in Portland for 3 days, which turned into 2 weeks, and him just being there for me in any way he could, which says a lot about his character. And I think he's going to be an amazing husband. One day, God willing, an amazing father, and hopefully, God willing, 5 children, an amazing uncle with Elizabeth. He's a little forward. Actually, that's the last of the 3. The only other point I want to make, and I don't mean to make this overly sappy, is, as my mom said last night, I really do wish our grandfather, our grandmother, and our great Aunt Tabby could be here to see this. I know they would have been really proud. And it's a very joyous occasion, and I'm very excited to be doing this. The last point that I wanted to make is, okay, so I've come up with my time limit. That was the note I had. I knew that would happen. So before we raise our glasses and give another toast, there was an original poem I put together that I didn't really put it together. I found it also. I couldn't find the author. It might have been anonymous, so I'll take some credit for it. May thy life be long and happy, thy cares and sorrows few, and the many friends around thee prove faithful, fond, and true. May your voyage through life be as happy and as free as the dancing waves on the deep blue sea. And I'll end with that. So I'm going to raise our glasses one more time. And cheers, my brother, Esteban, and his wife, Kendra. Congratulations.
Cheers. Esteban.